So when you hear the name Nikola Tesla today, I think for most of us, your mind immediately goes to, cutting edge technology, the absolute peak of electric innovation.
hmm But the man's life, the reality of it, is just one of history's great paradoxes.
It really is. I mean, this is the person who laid the groundwork for the entirely see electrical grid, the system that powers, well, everything.
Everything. And yet he died almost penniless. In his last years, he was known almost as much for his eccentric habits as he was for his genius.
And that's really the question for this deep dive, isn't it? How does a visionary, someone who literally changed the world, fail so completely on the business side of things?
Right.
So today we're going into the sources, looking at his biggest conflicts, like the War of the Currents with Edison, the financial deals, and of course his, let's say, more radical visions.
From X-rays to the death ray, yeah.
Yeah.
Our mission here is to really get past the myths and look at the actual transactions, the technical brilliance, and the key decisions that put him on that path.
Okay, so let's start with that War of the Currents. To really get it, we have to picture the world in the 1880s. What did that look like?
Well, you had Thomas Edison, and his system was direct current, or DC.
Yep.
And it was fine, it was safe. Low voltage, about 110 volts.
But it had a huge drawback.
A huge one, range.
Yeah.
DC power could only be sent about a mile before it just fizzled out. So you had to have generating plants dotting the cities everywhere. It was a mess.
So cities could only grow as far as a copper wire could stretch. That just sounds completely unsustainable. What was the big advantage that Tesla and George Westinghouse brought with alternating current with AC?
In a word, leverage.
hmm
AC could use a transformer.
Right.
So you could step up the voltage really high for transmission over long distances and then step it down safely right where you needed it at a house or a factory.
So one power plant could cover a much larger area?
Exactly. A single station could supply areas maybe 7 miles out and with thinner, cheaper wire. So a massive economic advantage.
Okay, so that's a game changer just on the money side of things. But Edison didn't fight back on price, did he? He went straight for fear.
He did, and it was brutal. He famously said DC was like river flowing peacefully to the sea. But AC, he called that a torrent rushing violently over a precipice.
Wow, he really framed it as a public safety issue.
Totally. He launched this just aggressive smear campaign, and it gets pretty chilling from here.
The public demonstrations.
Yeah. The sources show he worked with an engineer, Harold Brown, to publicly electrocute animals, dogs, horses, you name it, all with AC just to horrify the public.
That's just dark.
It gets darker. He was involved in the creation of the electric chair, and he made absolutely sure that the first one used a Westinghouse AC generator.
So he could forever link his competitor's technology with death.
That was the goal, a truly cynical PR move.
So did it work? Or
Well,
did the sheer superiority of AC just win out in the end?
ultimately, the economics were just too strong. I mean, the smear campaign definitely hurt. It slowed things down. But the real turning point was 1893,
Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls. Westinghouse won the contract to build the huge hydroelectric plant there, all based on Tesla's AC system. And really, the war was over even before that. In 1892, Edison lost control of his own company.
Oh.
It merged into General Electric under J.P. Morgan, and they just very pragmatically switched everything over to AC. The efficiency was just undeniable.
Okay, so Tesla wins. He provides the tech that lights up the world. So why wasn't he one of the richest men on the planet? Was he just a terrible businessman?
It's a combination of things. Bad luck, some bad partners, and maybe just a lack of interest in the boring parts of business. It started right at the beginning at Edison's company.
Right, he worked for Edison for a while.
He did, and he was actually paid very well. But he left over a dispute about a bonus. $50,000 he was promised for improving Edison's DC systems.
And he never got it.
Edison basically laughed it off, so Tesla walked.
The lesson there is get it in writing.
And then came his very first company, the Tesla Electric Light and Manufacturing Company. His backers got what they wanted, his patents for arc lighting, and then they just squeezed him out
Leaving him with nothing.
with absolutely nothing. The sources say he was so destitute he had to dig ditches for $2 a day just to eat.
From genius inventor to digging ditches, that's a staggering fall. But then came the Westinghouse deal. That should have set him up for life.
It should have.
Yeah.
And initially it did. It was an incredible deal. He got over $100,000 in cash and stock for his motor patents, plus a royalty on every horsepower of AC electricity sold. He was a millionaire in the 1890s.
So he was set. What happened?
The tragedy came later. In 1907, Westinghouse Electric was in serious financial trouble, almost bankrupt.
Okay.
And George Westinghouse went to Tesla and basically laid it out. He said those massive ongoing royalty payments were crippling the company. Tesla, who saw Westinghouse as the one person who truly believed in him,
Yeah.
he made a choice.
What did he do?
He tore up the royalty contract. He sacrificed that endless stream of wealth for a one-time lump sum payment of $218,000.
Wow. He saved the company, but at what cost to himself?
A huge cost. I mean, that money was a lot back then, maybe $6 million in today's dollars, but it was a tiny fraction of what those royalties would have been worth over the next century. He chose the survival of the technology over his own fortune.
Let's pivot now to his more visionary phase, because this is where his genius really starts to blur with eccentricity. What came after the AC motor?
Well, you have to start with the Tesla coil. From 1891, it's this high-voltage transformer circuit, and it was really the foundation for all his wireless work that came later.
And it's still used today, right, in radios and things like that.
Absolutely. And that led to his work on remote control. In 1898, he demonstrated a radio-controlled boat at Madison Square Garden.
The Tilautomaton.
That's the one. The birth of the drone, really. He tried to sell it to the military as a kind of guided torpedo.
And then there's radio itself. That's a whole contested history.
It is. Most people think Marconi, but Tesla filed the key patents for wireless transmission back in 1897. The U.S. Supreme Court actually ruled in his favor in 1943, long after he died, saying Marconi's patents had infringed on his work.
So another case of him being ahead of the curve but not getting the credit at the time?
Exactly. And all of this leads us to Wardenclyffe.
The gigantic failure.
The gigantic failure that really sank his career. He got J.P. Morgan to back it initially. The idea was pretty straightforward.
An intercontinental wireless communication station, basically a better version of what Marconi was doing.
Right. Morgan put in $150,000 for a communication system. But then Tesla heard about Marconi's success sending signals across the Atlantic, and he radically changed the plan.
Because he didn't just want to send messages.
No. He wanted to send power.
Wirelessly. To the whole world.
To the whole world. He believed he could use the Earth itself as a giant conductor. So he went back to Morgan and said, I need a lot more money for this much bigger vision.
And Morgan was a financier. He wanted to sell messages, not give away free power.
Precisely. When Morgan asked him, what's the business model here? Tesla didn't have a good answer. And Morgan pulled his funding. The project just died.
So the tower was just abandoned?
Abandoned by 1906. And eventually demolished in 1917 for scrap metal, just to cover Tesla's debts. A very sad end to a grand vision.
After Wardenclyffe failed, Tesla's reputation really shifted, didn't it? He went from celebrated genius to, well, something of an eccentric recluse.
Yeah, his final decades were marked by some pretty strange behavior and increasingly grand claims. He was still inventing, but on a smaller scale, things like ozone generators for therapeutic use.
And didn't he have an idea about making students smarter with electricity?
He did. In 1912, he proposed wiring classrooms with high-frequency waves, claiming it would unconsciously saturate the students and boost their intelligence.
He also developed some pretty strong opinions, scientifically and personally.
Oh, definitely. He was a humanist and a vegetarian, but he also controversially supported eugenics. And scientifically, he became very rigid. He was a harsh critic of Einstein's theory of relativity.
What did he call it?
A beggar wrapped in purple, whom ignorant people take for a king. He just couldn't accept modern physics. He even made some very critical remarks about Edison's methods right after Edison died.
And what about the weapon, the death ray that everyone talks about?
He called it teleforce.
Yeah.
This was in the 1930s. He described it as a defensive particle beam that could shoot down airplanes from 250 miles away.
A defensive weapon.
Yeah, he claimed he was a pacifist and that this would be the weapon to end all wars. He tried to sell the idea to the U.S. military and others, but no one bought it.
So despite all the struggles and the fringe ideas later in life, his core contributions were never really forgotten, were they?
Not at all. He won many, many awards. The irony is he even won the AIE Edison Medal. But I think his most lasting legacy is in the language of physics itself.
The
Tesla, the unit of magnetic flux density. His name is literally baked into the foundations of modern engineering.
It's an incredible story. It just shows that genius isn't enough. The difference between a lasting legacy and a stable fortune often comes down to pure business sense. He sacrificed his wealth for loyalty, and his biggest dream failed because he couldn't rein in his vision.
Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. We know Tesla spent decades dismissing electromagnetic waves, what we now call radio waves. He thought they were useless, that the energy would be hopelessly lost.
Right, he was all in on his Earth resonance theory instead.
The very theory that his greatest failure, Wardenclyffe, was built on. So it makes you wonder, and this is the challenge for us today, what major technological path might we be ignoring right now because we're also focused on another one that seems more obvious, but might, in the long run, be less efficient?
That is definitely something to think about as a new generation of innovators tries to bring their dreams to life. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. For your own research, you might want to look into his bladeless Tesla turbine, another fascinating piece of his story.